Hello and welcome to another one of my flight reviews. Today we're going to be flying on the longest running international Fifth Freedom flight into Australia. We're going to be flying on Emirates daily Boeing 777-300ER service all the way from Singapore down to Melbourne, capital of Victoria, Australia. Despite Emirates operating two direct daily Airbus A380 services between Melbourne and Dubai, this service has stood the test of time, operating almost continuously for 28 years since 1996. So come and join me as we get to understand why this incredibly popular second leg of an indirect flight between Dubai and Melbourne is so popular with the Australian travelling public. All while I get the opportunity to fully immerse myself in the award-winning, world-famous Emirates economy class product on a literally 7-hour daytime service. To top it all off, I'll explore how you can enjoy this world-famous Emirates service for less than $100 as a very modest points redemption. So without further ado, come join me as I put the Emirates economy class experience to the ultimate test to see whether they might surprisingly be the best way to travel between Singapore and Australia. Hello, good evening and welcome to the beautiful modern tropical metropolis of Singapore. It's a hot, sticky, steamy evening here in the Lion City. Very quick little visit here up in Singapore. We actually arrived early this morning after getting the inaugural Perth to Singapore Jetstar Airbus A321 flight. That was a really good experience, so be sure to check out that one when it drops on the channel. Spent this afternoon exploring the downtown financial core of Singapore, doing a little bit of walking tour there, also walking around Chinatown, exploring that as well. So yeah, made for a really cool walking tour. But first things first, in the morning, our time in the Lion City quickly comes to an end. We're going to be flying down to Melbourne, capital of Victoria, Australia. Anyway, to get there tomorrow morning, we're not going to be flying any of the usual suspect airlines that you might fly between Singapore and Australia. We're not flying Singapore Airlines, we're not flying Qantas, maybe we're not even flying Scoot, and we're certainly not flying Jetstar or Jetstar Asia either. We're actually flying on one of the small handful of Fifth Freedom flights that operate internationally in and out of Australia. We're actually going to be flying on Emirates daily 777 service down to Melbourne. This one actually originates in Dubai, as you would expect, continues through Singapore, and then continues on to Melbourne. The really great thing about this Fifth Freedom flight between Singapore and Melbourne is its general accessibility, very easy flight to take, great opportunity while I'm up here in Singapore. The other easy way and affordable way to try Emirates is obviously also between Christchurch and Sydney. I actually booked this one quite affordably. I actually booked it with Qantas points. It was 30,000 or so Qantas points and 89 Singapore dollars in tax. So great opportunity to see what Emirates economy class experience is really like on the 777 in 2024. So I thought while I'm up here in Singapore, it's a really great opportunity to experience the Emirates economy class product, see what it's like without having to travel all the way to Dubai, let alone over to Europe or North America or whatnot. So in terms of me and flying Emirates, have definitely flown them a few times in the past, but tomorrow will be the first time I'm actually covering it on the Aussie JetSetter YouTube channel. I've flown them once before between Auckland and Sydney. Also flown about 2019 from a big trip around Europe. Flew them all the way from Barcelona via Dubai to Perth on the A380. That was a really good experience. So, but yeah, tomorrow we're flying on the 777, bit more of a medium haul flight, about 7 hours and 10 minutes. Really looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's now skip forward to tomorrow morning. I'll see you at Changi Airport for what should be a really memorable day trying out Emirates for the first time on the Aussie JetSetter YouTube channel. So come join me, let's do this. Absolutely can't wait, let's do it. And just like that folks, it's bright and early and welcome to Singapore Changi Airport. We're over at Changi Jewel, which is immediately adjacent to Terminal 1. Unfortunately, the vortex rainfall doesn't actually start to about 10 or 11 o'clock, but it's still pretty impressive nonetheless. If I had more time, I would check out Changi Jewel, but I have done a walking tour of it before on the channel, so be sure to check out that. But for now, we better head over the short walk over to Terminal 1, which is directly attached to Jewel. And yeah, come join me, we'll get checked in, maybe check out a lounge, and we'll head to Melbourne. Should be a good one. Before we head into airport terminal, let's have a look at the route information for our 5th Freedom flight down to Melbourne today, EK404 with Emirates. Gazetted flight time is 7 hours and 10 minutes. Great circle distance, shy over 6,000 kilometers. We're going to do it in just over 6 hours and 22 minutes today. For information, today's flight actually begins in Dubai and is merely connecting in Singapore for an hour and a half. If you were to take this indirect flight to Melbourne, it'd be a total of 16 hours and 20-minute journey time. This is in addition to Emirates' 2 daily direct Airbus A380 services to Melbourne, which takes about 13 hours and 20 minutes. So it is about 3 hours longer to go via Singapore, but a random check of dates in late October actually revealed that the flights are about $400 cheaper if you were willing to take the indirect option. Now as we walk over from the spectacular Changi Jewel Shopping Centre, where unfortunately I can't make use of early check-in facilities today as it's before 8 o'clock in the morning, we're now heading over to Terminal 1, which is the original and oldest of the 4 terminals here at Singapore Changi Airport. Singapore Changi very much has almost returned to pre-you-know-what levels. In terms of yearly annual passenger numbers, Singapore Changi serves flights to almost all of the world's inhabited continents with the exception of South America. Peak passenger numbers peaked around 65 million in 2018. According to the latest statistics, they're almost back up there at about 59 million yearly passenger movements. Anyway, now on to check-in for Emirates here in Singapore. Unsurprisingly, being such a global international airline, Emirates has one of the biggest presences here in Singapore, obviously outside of Singapore Airlines and Scoot. Here from Singapore, you can not just fly on numerous daily flights to Dubai, you can also fly on 5th Freedom flights as we are doing today down to Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. Interestingly enough, there's also a daily flight that continues on to Phnom Penh in Cambodia. To easily reach check-in, I'd advise your Grab or taxi driver to drop you off outside door 5, where you'll find check-in at row 13. So check-in really is a big area here in Singapore, has to cater to both A380 and 777 flights. Manned and assisted counters are on the left-hand side with plenty of self-service baggage drop and check-in kiosks on the right-hand side. So very pleased to see self-service check-in and bag drop here in Singapore. Certainly saves a lot of time compared to having to wait in quite a considerably lengthy queue, which you often face when flying on a big aircraft such as A380 or a 777. So yeah, you just scan your passport, follow the aviation security prompts, it'll print off your bag tags ready to go to the self-service baggage drop. After that, it's on to self-service baggage drop, which should be a very straightforward self-serve affair here in Singapore. Didn't quite turn out to be that easy for me, as for some bizarre reason it said self-service baggage drop had already closed, even though it was about 3 hours before the flight. So I had to see a person to drop off my bag. They seemed to suggest they were only taking bags through this system for the flight to Dubai at the time. Anyway, after about 5-10 minutes waiting to be served, it was dropped off, ready to go. Anyway, it's now off to departures. Things always feel a little bit strange here in Singapore because you do security at the gate. All you gotta do is go for a quick passport e-gate to get through to airside. The process of departing Singapore only takes seconds. It's so quick and easy that in fact they actually have to put warnings up to warn against people deliberately going airside purely just to go duty-free shopping. Clearly, people have been caught doing this with no intention of actually flying. And just like that, we're all checked in, free immigration airside, just not through security yet. So overall, check-in was a little bit strange this morning. All got off to a great start, but somehow it was not accepting my bag, self-service baggage drop. So I just had to go to a manual counter to drop it off. So yeah, it was all going swimmingly. But yeah, didn't want to seem to accept my bag, so just had to get some assistance dropping that off, but it was all good in the end. So now we're departing from C13 in about an hour and 50 minutes time. So let's go and check out a lounge now. I've done lounge hopping here before at Changi. I don't think I've been to the Plaza Premium Lounge. I think I've been to the Mahaba and Sats Premier, I think. So let's go and check out the Plaza Premium. To reach the Plaza Premium Lounge, you'll find it in the central area of Terminal 1. Just take the escalator up to one of the central lounge precincts there, where you'll find the lounge straight ahead. Today I'll be using my Priority Pass membership to gain entry, although I believe you can also use a Dragon Pass. Don't think they accept lounge key, however. Also, certain credit cards will get you in the door. You can also pay cash booking online. I think it's about 50 Singapore dollars if you book it in advance. So not exactly cheap, but not excessive either in my opinion. So definitely one of the larger lounges here, very much keeping true to the Plaza Premium style of lounge. Good range of seating suited to both relaxation and work alike. Good range of food and beverage options on offer as well. There's a main self-service buffet option. Has a good range of hot and cold, continental and cooked breakfast options at this time of day. There is also a bar as well. However, just like many public and contract lounges here in Southeast Asia, free alcoholic beverages are pretty limited, just to house beer and house wine. So there's free Tiger beer on tap, also a few house wines. Anything fancier, cocktails, fancy beers, fancy spirits, anything like that, you're going to be paying out of pocket. And here in Singapore, very, very expensive indeed. But to be honest, when you're in Singapore, you really can't go wrong with the national beer. A freshly poured Tiger beer off the tap tastes absolutely amazing. And really great thing about this lounge is its panoramic window side views. Not too many lounges in Singapore have quite as good views as these. In fact, many lounges don't even have a view at all. So really great for plane spotting. Definitely get a seat by the window. Plenty of great aircraft action taking off and landing, also taxiing out to the runway. So with so many lounges to choose from here in Singapore, if you are an aviation enthusiast, you enjoy plane spotting, or you just want to relax and enjoy all the action outside, this is definitely a lounge strongly worth recommending that you consider visiting. Anyway, just like that, interesting enough, our flight is also arriving from Dubai. So that's probably a little bit of an indication for me now to start considering moving on from the lounge and heading over back to the gate. I'll look at the aircraft information before I ride down to Melbourne when I actually arrive at the gate. But in short, the flight from Dubai is about 7 hours and 45 minutes gazetted flight time. Now it has about a 1.5 hour stopover layover here in Melbourne to refuel. Some passengers will get off, some will continue their journey on to Melbourne, and some will obviously start here in Singapore. Journey then down to Melbourne's about 7 hours and 10 minutes. So yeah, for those originating in Dubai, the total journey time's around 16 hours and 20 minutes, which is about 3 hours longer than the 2 daily direct Airbus A380 flights. But as I alluded to before, flying via Singapore can sometimes be a bit of a cheaper option, so it may be well worth doing for some. Anyway, we have aircraft right out there in front of us. We have flight slightly retimed for a slightly later departure. Due to the late inbound arriving aircraft, we better head over to the gate. Allow yourself considerable time to get to your gate in Singapore. Can be quite lengthy, 10-minute, 15-minute walk to many gates. Also, allow yourself time to go through security, as it's done here at each individual gate in Singapore. This model really has its pros and cons in my opinion. If you're just merely transiting in Singapore between flights, works pretty well. It's a lot less stressful not having to be confronted by a massive security line the moment you get off the plane. It's good you can just quickly move to your next gate and move freely around the terminal building airside. But if you are starting your journey in Singapore, I actually do prefer the old-fashioned way where you just go through security along with immigration at the start of the journey, then you don't have to worry about it later on. Anyway, now that we're through security here at the gate and confined to the waiting area, let's have a look at our Emirates 777-300ER taking us down to Melbourne today. The time of taking the flight is about 11.5 years of age, delivered direct to Emirates in January 2013. Registration on this one is A6 Echo November Echo. Interestingly enough, only minutes later, the heavens opened for a typical mid-morning Singapore tropical downpour. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any weather out on our departure out of Singapore today. And just like that, boarding is announced. Everything seems to be very orderly and efficient here in Singapore, even with the flight appearing to be a very full flight, albeit it is running slightly behind schedule. And just like that, welcome on board just one of the staggering 123 Boeing 777-300ER aircraft that form part of the mind-blowing 249 aircraft in Emirates Group fleet. This also includes a mind-blowing 116 Airbus A380-800 aircraft and another 10 777-200LR aircraft. This is in addition to an impressive order currently underway for 65 Airbus A350-900 aircraft. Also got some Boeing 787-8 and 787-10 aircraft also on board as well. So eventually in coming years we should see Emirates fleet size growing to 305. With so many 777-300ERs in the fleet, unsurprisingly there's actually 5 different configurations of this aircraft with Emirates. We're in a free class configuration today, has 8 seats in luxurious first class up the front, has 42 seats in what some say is an aging business class in a 232 configuration. Then out the back you got 310 seats in economy. Generally speaking, it's a 3-4-3 configuration. While I'm seeing out the back where it's a 2-4-2 configuration. At your seat you'll find a fairly comfortable seat pitch of 32 inches and a width of 17, which is fairly standard for global full service carriers these days. We've also got a fold out bifoldable tray table and also a separate cup holder there as well, which is really convenient. Also at your seat you'll also find international style amenities such as a rug, and also you've got headphones that are in a vacuum press bag. Impressively at your seat you also find a good range of in-flight literature, importantly in-flight safety briefing demo card, but more interestingly your Emirates in-flight magazine has a good guide to the ICE entertainment system there, what's on. Also got duty-free shopping options. At your seat you got a very impressive touchscreen personal entertainment system that offers what's known as ICE award-winning entertainment system on Emirates. Also got a personal universal charging outlet there, no USB-C however. Also got your own remote control as well, acts as a second screen, which is really handy.
404 service to Melbourne. Flight time to Melbourne, 6 hours 25 minutes. That's
Nonsense safety video. We do not have dancers breaking into song, characters from movies, or celebrities trying to be funny, I'm afraid.
But at Emirates, safety always comes first. So it's important that we take you through some safety features before takeoff.
Can tighten the seatbelt by pushing the strap, and make it come like this to unfasten it. Like this, let the bottom start down.
And just like that, after that ever so slightly subtle cheeky dig there by Emirates at other airlines in-flight safety briefing demo videos, we're now well and truly taxiing out to the runway. Some magnificent views of the Singapore Airlines Boeing 747 cargo jet out there in the near distance. What better time now to sit back, relax and enjoy our stunning mid-morning takeoff out of Singapore today. Some excellent views of the Straits of Singapore on departure and out over the Indonesian islands along the way. Then once in the air, I'll then begin going over what you can expect on this very interesting Fifth Freedom flight with Emirates between Singapore and Melbourne. we're well and truly made a southerly turn down for the southeast of Australia, well and truly on our way to cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. First things first, let's have a look at our seat features in more detail. So very comfortable overall on Emirates. You've got an adjustable headrest there and a reasonable amount of recline. So pretty well as good as it's going to get for most economy classes. With lunch service about to get underway and being seated towards the far end of the aircraft, expecting a little bit of a wait for lunch to arrive, let's now have a look at Emirates award-winning ICE entertainment system. ICE stands for Information, Connectivity and Entertainment. It probably is quite possibly the world's best in-flight entertainment system, certainly the best I've ever experienced. Emirates boasts that has up to 6,500 channels of music, movies, TV shows, games, live TV, audiobooks, anything you name it, you can pretty well find it on Emirates. So first, let's start with information. Very impressive through the ICE entertainment system. You get loads of information, live news updates, all that sort of stuff. Also, you get the in-flight moving map, which is really good quality on Emirates. You can actually view it separately on your remote, which means you can actually use the main screen to watch whatever you want at the same time. So that's really good. Get plenty of flight information, route information about the UAE and all that sort of stuff. So that's really good. Then on to entertainment. There really is a wealth of entertainment options on Emirates. There's literally hundreds of movies, hundreds of TV shows. There's HBO Max, there's Discovery, there's Disney, there's everything. There's great in-flight live TV as well. You've got CNN, you've got Sky News, Arabia, you've got Sport 24, which interestingly enough happened to have live broadcasts of the Olympic Games when I was on the flight. Also some replays of AFL, which I thought was really cool, seeing I was flying to Melbourne. Wi-Fi is available on Emirates, although it's generally at an additional cost, anywhere from an extra $3 to $20 for the whole flight. Though may be complimentary for certain Skywards members travelling in certain classes of travel. Certainly had no intention of paying for Wi-Fi, but could even get it to work unfortunately, so could even see if there was any free streaming content on offer. Now that I've had a good look at the in-flight entertainment, lunch is served about an hour and a half after takeoff. In economy class, it all comes on the one plate as you would expect. For the mains, I go with chicken and mashed potato. Wasn't anything amazing, but it was reasonably filling nonetheless. On the side, you also get a number of supplementary items such as a dessert. You also get a small little salad there as well. Chocolate chip hazelnut cookie, even a bread roll with butter, and a Kit Kat bar to top it all off. Top of that, you get a small little sealed bottle of water and your choice of drink from the very extensive drinks menu that Emirates have. I asked for a beer, I get a Stella Artois, not a bad, good all-round beer indeed. Which is a great way to accompany last night's replay of the footy, which unfortunately I wasn't able to watch in Singapore, as VPNs are increasingly more difficult to use to watch content abroad these days. Now with the main meal service out of the way and leaving the coastline of Java behind, let's go over the twin seats here on Emirates. In my opinion, they're well worth booking. They are an extra 89 Singapore dollars on this flight, so probably about $40 or $50 more than a standard seat selection. But if you value a slightly more spacious cabin feeling, they're well worth it. Definitely a great idea for travelling couples as well. Now onto the onboard lavatory. Not 100% sure, but I think there's a total of 9 on this aircraft. Very good condition. The onboard lavatory in economy class in Emirates. Got everything you need, including a baby change table and all the usual amenities. Kept reasonably good condition for a couple hours into the flight, so hard to complain. Now as I return to my seat, we're now a little halfway throughout today's journey down to Melbourne. Ask for a mid-flight refreshment, get a Heineken beer, which I think would be a really great way to accompany me as I enjoy the views as we're about to make landfall out over the Australian continent. We're going across the coastline just to the east of the large town of Port Hedland, population of around 15,000 and home of the world's largest export tonnage port due to the huge amount of iron ore and salt shipment out of the Pilbara region of West Australia. Unfortunately, despite being the middle of Australian winter when you can generally bank upon clear skies in the north of Australia, unfortunately it is actually quite cloudy as we make landfall over Australia today, so it's not until we're a little bit further inland out over the Pilbara region just at the eastern Marble Bar we get our first glimpses of the red dirt of Australiana underneath. In fact, Marble Bar is world famous as one of the hottest towns on earth, as it holds the world record for longest streak of days over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in a row, which in Australia would be 37.8 degrees centigrade. In total, there was 168 days above 100 degrees Fahrenheit between 31 October 1923 to 7 April 1924. In fact, it's so hot in the West Australian Pilbara down below that temperatures can well and truly nudge 50 degrees during the warmer months, even be in the mid-30s during the middle of winter. Now, as we make good progress through the heart of the Australian continent down to Melbourne, let's have a look at the Emirates in-flight magazine in more detail. So as I alluded to before, this is your one-stop shop for reference of anything that might be on the ICE entertainment system, especially what is new for that month. So yeah, really well worth reading if you want to understand what are some of the newer entertainment options available on Emirates. Also got an extensive duty-free shopping selection here on Emirates as well. So yeah, Emirates very much is one of the few airlines that still well and truly are into duty-free. Now, as light starts to quickly fade out over the crisp winter Australian skyline as we make our way closer to the southeast of the country and skip forward in time zone, it's great to sit back and relax, watch a bit of live Olympics coverage as it comes on later in the day. What also is great on Emirates is they do offer a second smaller snack service. So come around with these curry puffs, chicken curry puff to be precise, actually tastes really good and really hits the spot for a late afternoon snack. Certainly didn't win any awards for presentation, but certainly didn't need to either. Tasted really good and certainly hit the spot. Ensured I wasn't starving the moment I arrived in Melbourne, because it's quite a long time until I got to the hotel, so it was much appreciated. At this point, the crew also did another drink service, so got another beer, cause why not. They also gave a packet of savoury biscuits to accompany, so a great way to finish today's flight in terms of service from the award-winning Emirates cabin crew. With the snack service out of the way, we're pretty well commencing the last hour of our flight now, with light really quickly fading. We're about to fly over the 5th largest city in Australia, the capital of South Australia being Adelaide. It's going to be in darkness the last bit of the flight now in the Australian winter. In the summer, this flight would be all in daylight hours. It's hard to believe it was only earlier in the year I got the overland train all the way between Adelaide and Melbourne. It took me nearly 12 hours by rail. If you were to drive, it's about an 8-hour drive or 725 kilometres. But when we're in the air, it's probably only about another half an hour or so until we're on final descent into Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport.
7:45. Latest weather report on the ground for this evening. Cold, it's temperature of 8 degrees Celsius, winds light southerly.
So now that we're about to commence final descent into Melbourne's Tullamarine International Airport on a rather very cold Melbourne winter night where it's going to get down to about 0 degrees, what better time now to sit back, relax and enjoy our nighttime landing. And once on the ground, I'll go over my final thoughts and feedback on today's very special Emirates 5th Freedom Flight 777 experience. now as we prepare to disembark our Emirates Boeing 777 that's taken us all the way down from Singapore today, on reflection it's been a really superb top quality experience on Emirates today. Really think it's been made even better because it's a leisurely daytime flight. Mid-morning departure from Singapore, early evening arrival into Melbourne allows you to fully immerse yourself and enjoy everything that Emirates has to offer. Even better, you're able to book it with Qantas points. This cost me about 30,000 Qantas points and I think 89 Singapore dollars in taxes. So a great way to experience Emirates without having to break the bank per se. Really a shame, however, after 28 years of operating this Fifth Freedom flight between Melbourne and Singapore, Emirates have recently announced their intentions that they're going to discontinue this indirect flight to Melbourne. Of course, they will continue their daily direct Airbus A380 services direct to Dubai, but unfortunately this service will eventually be coming to an end. Date hasn't been specified, so it could be a number of months away still. So my strong advice for anyone happening to find a need to travel between Singapore and Melbourne in the nearby future, do it now while the opportunity still exists. One thing that wasn't so grand about today's flight to Melbourne was indeed the arrival process into Australia at Melbourne Tullamarine International Airport. Really is a construction site, this airport at the moment. Also 3 or 4 flights from North America all arriving at the same time as our flight from Singapore. Took over an hour to clear immigration and customs, really slow going today. If there is any consolation, really hope that all this construction here at Tullamarine Airport is for the greater good, and in the months come by they have much better airport experience for everyone who travels through Australia's second busiest international airport. Putting the rather poor arrival experience behind me, it's nonetheless absolutely fantastic to be here in Melbourne once again. Haven't been here in the height of the Australian winter for quite many years now. Been here many times over the summer, but haven't been here for a footy weekend in a number of years now. So really looking forward to seeing my local team, the Fremantle Dockers from out in West Australia, play hometown Essendon here tomorrow at the MCG. But now it's on to a rather overpriced Skybus as always. It's going to take me into the middle of the city at Southern Cross Station, where it's then going to be a rather inconvenient 15-minute walk to my hotel. And where we'll wrap up today's flight review with Emirates the next day at Melbourne's world famous Albert Park, home of the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix. And just like that, folks, welcome to beautiful Melbourne. It's the next day and we had a little bit of walking tour around Albert Park here in Melbourne, which is home to the iconic Albert Park racecourse, which if you're familiar with your motor racing is the site of the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix, first race of each season in March every year. Albert Park's about a 3 or 4 kilometre walk from the centre of town, so it's a great place to come, have a bit of a stroll around, nice and relaxing way to spend half a day or so. So yeah, I thought the Emirates 777 was a really solid experience down to Melbourne yesterday. For the price I paid, considering it was a points redemption, about 30,000 points, $89 in tax, really thought it was a pretty good redemption in my opinion, considering the cash fare was like over $1,000 one way when I checked. So yeah, absolutely would recommend Emirates on the 777, especially if you're quite accustomed already flying Singapore Airlines or Qantas. Of course, they're pretty decent offerings on the route as well, but if you want to try something different, Emirates is definitely the way to go. Fifth Freedom flight as well, definitely a full quality international flight in my opinion. Yeah, the good thing about Emirates is this flight gives you an opportunity to try their economy class product, or indeed business class or first, without having to spend the earth and not having to travel all the way to Europe or North America. So in a nutshell, I think this is a really good alternative option to fly Emirates. Definitely give them a go between Singapore and Melbourne. Probably a very competitive product. Definitely rivals Singapore Airlines for sure. And yeah, quite possibly is better than Qantas, especially when it comes to entertainment. Anyway, if you have enjoyed yesterday's flight review with Emirates, my inaugural Emirates flight review on the Aussie JetSetter YouTube channel, would really appreciate it if you could just give it a like, leave your comments down below, share amongst your family and friends, and of course, If you are a subscriber to my channel already, a huge thank you for all your continued support. But yeah, if you haven't already and you do enjoy my content, whatever it brings you to my channel, if you could just please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking that bell and notification button on so you won't miss the next flight review. That would be really amazing. So from here at Melbourne's iconic Albert Park, home of the iconic Melbourne Formula One Grand Prix track, home of the Australian Formula One, thanks so much for watching yesterday's epic Emirates 777 flight review. And until next one, safe travels, wherever that might take you.